So if you have a spouse or if you have a partner that you'd like to join with, that's a good option for you. We also have a sponsor annual member, which is $350 for the year. So if you have a business that has products or services that you think our membership would like to hear about, that's a good option for you. You get to stand up, or in our in-person meetings, you get to stand up and tell us a little bit about your business and how you can help our members out. But here on the Zoom meetings, we can recognize you, and you can tell us the same thing over Zoom. We also have a corporate annual member, which is $500 for the year. And that level of membership gets you a table or a virtual table at our yearly expo that we have, which will be coming up soon. I think it's this month, actually. So keep that in mind. We do have a lot of benefits because we are affiliated with the National REIA. We have discounts through Home Depot, where we get great discounts on paints. So anything over a gallon, I think we get 20% off automatically. And then we also get, if you spend a certain amount, you get a 2% rebate twice a year through Home Depot for everything that you spend there. We also get discounts through Office Depot, Office Max, discounts on tenant screening software, and just overall networking. You get to come and meet like-minded people that are doing the things that you want to do, and you get to pick their brain and see how they do those things and chat and make connections. We have several board members. We have a couple that are on the line with us today. So Preston Nelson is our president. Myself, Tyler Lau, I'm the vice president. And I've seen Shailene. Shailene is our lunch education chair. So if there's something that you guys want to hear about, please feel free to reach out to Shailene, or you can contact any of us through our email address, which is board@triadrea.org. And that goes to everybody on the board, and we can figure out who's best suited to answer that question for you and get back to you. Celeste, I can't see who's trying to log in, so if you see somebody in the waiting room, can you let them in? Also, do we have any first-time guests with us today? So if you're a first-time guest, would you mind putting a 1 in the chat box? If you're a new member, if you wouldn't mind putting a 2 in the chat box. Or if you're a corporate or sponsor member, put a 3 in the chat box. We'd like to recognize you and hear what you have to say and hear a little bit about how you found out about us too. Shailene, I know you're a corporate member. Would you like to say something?
Yeah, I'm juggling my baby. I'm just the sponsor member, but that's with Quid Pro Quo, Dean's company, and I'm helping him with it. He's a general contractor. He's got handyman services. We do all your real estate flips and rental service calls. There's nothing Dean can't do, whether it's HVAC, it's roofs, just paint or flooring. I mean, one call, he'll do it all. He's got you. I'll put his contact information in the chat. He's a good person.
Yeah, thank you for that. Let's see, any other first-time guests or new members or corporate or annual sponsors? Thank you for putting that in the chat, Shailene. All right, moving on. We are virtual, so like I said earlier, the lunch meetings are going to be the first Tuesday, the first 2 Tuesdays of every month. So we're discontinuing the Thursday meetings going forward until further notice. And that will probably start back up whenever we start meeting in person. But we are going to record these meetings. So if Steve and Walter, if you guys are okay with that, we'd like to record this and then we can put it on YouTube and then hand that out to people or send people links for that. Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great, thank you. We also have our main monthly meetings, which is the 3rd Thursday of every month, which this month is our expo, so check that out. We also have some subgroups, which is one of those is the BRIC, or the Burlington Real Estate Investor subgroup, and that's usually the 2nd Monday of every month. And then we also have Triad Wire, or Women in Real Estate, which is the last Tuesday of every month. And then we also have Triad North, which is usually the 2nd Monday of every month. So if you want more information on those, check out our website, triadrea.org, and you can find out a bunch of information on there, and the most up-to-date information too. We are social, so we're on all the social media websites, so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Meetup. The Wire group also has a Facebook page. Haves, needs, and wants. So this is for members and members only. So are there any members that have a have, need, or want? So does anybody have anything that they're looking to sell, looking to buy? Any contractor that they're looking for? Maybe we can help.
I've got 3 turnkey rentals that I'm trying to wholesale. I've got those on the REIA website, but in case you haven't seen them, 2 of them are in Greensboro. One of them's in Winston. They all have long-term tenants. They're between $650 and $750 a month. If you're interested in that, just send me a message. I'd be happy to talk with you and send you all the pictures, everything like that. Also have a commercial building downtown Greensboro. It's a duplex style. One side's an office, one side's a smoothie shop. I'd love to sell that as well. Also on my REIA website.
Great, thank you, Shailene. Can you put your contact information over in the chat box just in case? All right, we have a few more people joining us now. We're in haves, needs, and wants. So do you guys have anything that you're looking to sell, looking to purchase? Any contractors that you're looking for? If not, we'll move along. Actually, I think that's it. So unless I missed something, Steve, I'm going to pass it along to you, and we'll talk about, is a franchise right for you? So let's welcome Steve Tyree. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, everybody. Let me share my screen here, get us going. We practice this. Hopefully it works as planned.
It's coming up.
There
Yep,
we
looks
go.
good.
I'm going to hide everybody in the meeting so we can mostly see the presentation. So just starting off, thanks for having Walt and I here today. If you're watching me on video, I've got notes on another screen so I can keep my thoughts moving. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to the REIA. I hope everybody gets to take something away from our presentation today that helps with your goals. And I also think if you're not careful, you might actually learn something, and maybe we'll have some fun too. So hopefully that works. And let's see how I move my screen along. Sorry about this. There we go. So this is a question I asked myself. I was fortunate enough to have the board members reach out to me and say, hey, would you like to talk to us about franchising? They know what some people don't know, because most people know me as a property manager when I come to Triad REIA. But the board members know that I also invested in a HOMEVESTORS franchise. So a lot of people might ask, well, you know, this guy's a property manager, who is he to be telling us about franchises? And it mostly has to do with the journey I've taken on my way to becoming a property manager. I personally like to learn about businesses. I like to apply and share with people what I know as I learn, you know, in an area I'm passionate about. I like to teach, coach, and help other people succeed. Back in 2002 was the time when it kind of hit me that I wanted to go into business for myself. I didn't know exactly what it took or how I was going to do it, but I started the journey to where I am today. I knew that you're supposed to go with something that you know. You're not supposed to do something completely new, or there's a much bigger learning curve, a lot more of an endeavor that you're going to do. Now, some people can do something completely different, learn from scratch, and be good in business for themselves. But a lot of people recommended that you do something that you know. At the time in 2002, I felt like there was 3 areas. One area of business was the one I really knew about. I knew about furniture, the home furnishings industry. When I came out of college, I went into the furniture business, and it's all I did for that whole first career in my life. A whole lot of different aspects of it, but basically product development, sourcing, production. So I knew that was a possibility if I wanted to figure out how to go into business in furniture some way myself. But I was a little bit burned out on furniture in 2002. So I was really looking for a change, and I thought, well, what else do I know? And searching, I came up with the number 2 idea was restaurants. I knew how to eat. I liked food. I've been to a lot of restaurants in multiple countries, and you know, I just had a lot of experience in that area. I even grew up with a bunch of close friends that came up through the restaurant business. They started as servers, but they ended up being general managers and store managers. One went into food distribution. So saw a lot of different aspects of that. You know, had some resources I could reach out to learn about that business. But I also learned that in restaurant business, you really got to work that business yourself. Owner operators were the key. Had an opportunity at one time to, you know, talk to somebody who tried to have a restaurant business but wasn't really wanting to be an owner operator, and they said that was the kiss of death. So another area I was exploring, the third idea I had, where I was kind of going with what I knew, was tapping into my interest in real estate. Back in 2002, I took a job primarily to learn about real estate investment with a company that was buying and subdividing and renting out industrial properties. And I got exposed to a family that was just doing huge things in the real estate business, really got bit by the bug of real estate when I took that job, you know, mainly to see what I could learn about the business. After that, I came into an opportunity where I could go take another job to learn, but back into furniture in a different way, working for a small business. So I was approached by a small business owner who had found me through my first career network. And they had a small operation, you know, just 5 or 6 people in his company, and really needed somebody with my skill set, background, you know, experience. So at that point, I took a different job to learn, could I be in a small business in furniture? Because in my first career, I had gone to big companies. I'd worked with a Lazy Boy company. I'd worked at Thomasville. I'd worked at Sealy and Tempur-Pedic in the mattress industry. So I worked with big companies, but I didn't know what it was like to be with a small company. Anyway, being in the furniture industry, I kind of got sucked back into that first career, and I fell back into a corporate role at a big company. Don't regret the experience or the opportunities that came along the way. But as a result, it took me 3 different attempts to exit my first career and get into working real estate full time. And that happened in 2016. But along the way, I've considered investment in multiple companies that were either franchises or business models very similarly structured to franchises in multiple businesses. I looked at restaurant franchises when I was considering, you know, my own business in that realm. I looked at property management franchises. I looked at real estate investing franchises and businesses that were similarly structured. Ultimately, the path you know me for at Triad REIA is starting TaVinci Properties. At the time, I did that from scratch. It was for that business and for what I needed at the time. I wanted to, you know, not invest in a franchise at that time. It didn't seem like the best idea for me. However, fast forward to where we are now with TaVinci Properties, I'm currently exploring the pros and cons of a property management franchise that could potentially help TaVinci Properties move from where it is today to where I want it to go next. So it's a business model that has different benefits at different times in what you're trying to achieve. Also along the way, I never left my desire to be an investor. I was a part-time investor from about 2003 on through, and there was a point where I wanted to put more effort and focus into investing, and that's when I decided, I did the research and saw how it fit with what time, resources, what parts of being an investor I was interested in, what would work well for me. And that's when I decided to purchase a HOMEVESTORS franchise. Slides. So I want to get into what's a franchise. The type that we're talking about today, to be clear, is the business type. It's not a sports team franchise. So if you want to own the Panthers one day, you need to talk to somebody else other than Walt and I. Unless, of course, Walt corrects me when he has a chance to talk. If you want to build an entertainment franchise, whether it's Star Wars or the Fast and the Furious, everybody knows different entertainment franchises. Even if you like reading books, you got the Harry Potter books. That's another type of franchise. But today we're just talking about business franchises. And when I first learned about franchises, I was researching in restaurants, but I see restaurants as the prime example of what a franchise is and how it works. And it's probably because in that industry, they have really refined building a franchise and expanding business through use of franchises. So a lot of the things I learned about franchises, whether it's investing or in property management, it turns out there's very close parallels in the restaurant business. So I want to go through some of the restaurant business franchises just to show people what their familiarity is with franchise as a business model. Who knows about this one? Hopefully you haven't had your head in the hole in any country in the world and missed out on this major franchise company. McDonald's has 36,900 locations in the world. And McDonald's has a unique tie to real estate investing. And an interesting fact for real estate investors to know about McDonald's, they are one of the biggest real estate companies in the world. They own $28.4 billion worth of land and buildings. That's before depreciation. They lease the land, the buildings, or both at 15,000 of those locations that they have in the country. So that's just an interesting business model that they've been able to sell burgers to acquire real estate. Another big one that you might know of is Subway. And their interesting fact I found when I was pulling up some of these examples is Subway is actually the largest franchise in the food business, bigger than McDonald's if measured by number of locations. So Subway and their $5 footlongs have mapped out 41,600 locations worldwide. Now, there's smaller ones as well. This one's growing pretty big, and it's got, a well-known presence in the food business. Everybody recognizes their cows and their font and their delicious chicken sandwiches. Chick-fil-A has a unique claim to fame. The franchise business model that Chick-fil-A has really become the gold standard in the fast food restaurant business. Other fast food restaurant franchises hold them up as like the mark to try to get to in regards to their revenue. Chick-fil-A actually sells more dollars per square foot of store space than all other fast food restaurants. And if you take into account that they're closed on Sundays, but the others are not, which does not go into that calculation, that's a pretty impressive feat. So they've earned their right as the gold standard. There's also smaller franchises that you might know where they started because they're closer to home here if you live in North Carolina. Duck Donuts started in Duck, North Carolina. We have one in Greensboro, one in High Point that I know of. I think I've passed one or two in Winston now. They're up to 225 locations. The other one, East Coast Wings, that's one of my favorite local ones. They are the smallest of my examples today, but they started in Winston-Salem. They are up to 36 locations. So when you go into searching and finding out about franchises, you want to find out about the benefits of the franchise and the benefits that they bring versus what it costs you and the drawbacks that they carry with them are a unique balance that you got to see if works for you. But franchises have the know-how in the business that they're in. If you do not have a fully developed business, if you need to know how to do business, if you need to get through your learning curve to be in the business for yourself in a business, buying a franchise is a way to obtain that know-how, have access to it. They've often built their systems already for doing business in many different parts of a business. I'll go through a bunch of those later. They've often got intellectual capital. I just gave you some examples in the food business. You saw several trademarks. There might even be some trade dress there. There's copyrights to documents and sayings and policies and forms even. An example in our industry of copyrights is the realtor's standard lease is a copyrighted document we use in real estate. So the intellectual capital that's already been developed, you don't have to develop from scratch. That's one of the benefits of going with a franchise. And one that I like is the screening and coaching. So franchises are not in the business of selling you a franchise and having you fail. That's bad for business for franchises. So they do screen applicants. They want you to be a success. So they want to pick the type of person with the resources and the time to put into it that are going to be a success. And then to help you get there, they often have coaching on the different aspects of the business. So they bring those 4 parts to what you're looking to do. Excuse me, I'm going down my notes again. So then how do you know if a franchise is right for you? The first part of it for me, and what I recommend for anybody else, is to know yourself. You've got to look internally and figure out what type of person you are already. Meaning, what things do you like to do? What are you good at? What things are you not good at? You need support for? What will you execute on? What might you fall down on? And you got to be realistic about it and do that soul searching. And then you've got to decide what you want to be. Do you want to improve in any of those? Learning to be different, acting to be different can be hard if you're going against your nature, but you can choose to act in different ways and get better in certain areas of your business. Hopefully, if you're a real estate investor, you recognize the chart on the 3rd bullet point. This is, Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrants type of people and how they might progress to becoming an investor or a business owner. But E's are employees. You have a job. Some people just want a set number of tasks that they do, that they execute. They want to come in at whatever the start time of the day is, and they want to leave at the end time of the day, and they want their lunch break and maybe their snack break in the afternoon or whatever. And they want that job to just start at a fixed point, end at a fixed point, and they don't want to take that job home. They don't want to have to worry about it. And if that's your nature, that is the type of person that is best to be an employee. However, if you want to be the boss, even if it's of you and you want to do things your own way, you start to realize that you might be more of a self-employed type person. And you might work really hard to own your own job and do things your own way. If you grow from that and you want to leverage the efforts of other people and or systems to do more than you can do just as a self-employed person, you can grow into being a business owner. Ultimately, hopefully, if you have a successful business that provides you enough wealth generation and positive cash flow, you can also become an investor. Or if you get to the point where you're, financially independent and all you want to do is invest and you don't want to work a business anymore or be self-employed anymore, you can grow up to be an investor. So where you are on that path and how you want to take the next steps, or if you just want support in being the person that you're comfortable with, in those quadrants, the franchise can help you in different ways. So business, I break down into many different functions. Any one of these can be broken down into multiple pieces underneath of them. But generally, if you're working a business, whether you're self-employed trying to work a business or you own a business, there's product development, whether your product's a a physical product or a service. There's marketing, there's advertising, there's selling your services or products. There's how do you produce them, or what's your operations procedures for delivering on that service. There's your customer service, there's financing, there's bookkeeping, your accounting, there's whatever legal requirements apply to your business. There's your human resource requirements. And that's even if you're self-employed. I mean, how do you get your medical insurance if you're self-employed? You're doing human resources. You might not think about it that way, but when a business does it for hundreds of people, they have a department called human resources. So these are the different pieces of business that franchises can help you do if you're not good at them or you don't have the desire to figure them all out yourself. So when you get into considering a franchise, you need to figure out what you're good at, what you do well. First bullet point, there's a cost for services you got to understand. Franchises, you can research them, you can go online and you can look at the Inc. 500 franchise list, top franchises every year, different services, rank them, and they'll give you information on, what your net worth has to be, what your liquid net worth has to be, what your investment has to be, what the ongoing cost of franchise is going to be. So there's a cost for services, but there's also what those services are and how they're going to help you. So you need to figure out what you're going to do well in your business, what you may not need as much help with, but also importantly there is what might you be uncomfortable doing the franchise way if you're really good at it on your own. Then the things that you're open to needing help with and wanting to improve, those are important as far as the services that the franchise can help you with. What you need someone else to do or what you want someone else to do. So the aspects of that business that are required in that business, but it is just uncomfortable to you. You hate doing it. If you try to make yourself do it, you're not going to be a success at it. Is there a way for somebody else to do that for you? And the last part of it is researching franchises and researching businesses. You need to keep your eyes open for the things you didn't even realize you needed in that business, because we all have our preconceived notions that all it takes to do that is these 4 things. And when you really learn about a business or franchise, you find out it's 14 things, not 4 things. So when I started Da Vinci Properties and I made a conscious decision to not have a property management franchise, some of the key aspects of that were that I wanted to maintain the creative control of my business and do everything our way. Whether it's my decision or my wife that runs a business with me, or our decision together, we're doing things our way. Everything from logo design, naming the company, documents we use, processes we put in place, the policies that we follow to run the property management business. I felt too creative and too tied to the way I had figured out how to manage my own properties as a part-time investor over the year to want to go to a property management franchise. The limitations in that aspect is I can only do as much as we can figure out our way. And everything that we do, we got to figure out our way of doing it. It's a significant amount of time and effort to build every system we use. And the harsh realization is that maybe, with a whole lot of effort and another 15 years focused on the business, it could become a big business. And that may not be the time that you want to put into a business if you want to grow faster, if you want to get big faster. When I looked at HOMEVESTORS as a franchise, it brought things I was looking for in the way of automated marketing, brand power, and collaterals. I realized in Da Vinci Properties how labor intensive and how much time it took me to build my marketing and what is my brand, and to build the collaterals I was going to have to share what we do with people. HOMEVESTORS also provided me sales training and support systems for home buying. They have proven business roadmaps, and they have economies of scale in a lot of the different parts of a business that you can't achieve just as a small operator. There is an upfront investment that I had to weigh in the pros and cons, and there's ongoing royalties of doing business as a HOMEVESTORS franchisee, just like in any franchise business. So at a high level, the pros and cons in franchising business, for me, as a con, was the creativity. You have to be willing to buy into the fact that a franchise has built a business and done it in multiple markets. You know, often they know exactly what's going to work in your market, and they're not going to ask you to reinvent the wheel. And that would be a waste of a time in a franchise. If you are real creative and it suits your heart to build your own thing, then you might, you know, very carefully consider, do I want to try to do that in the constraints of a franchise? However, a franchise brings brand power, and a lot of people don't realize what brand power, what brand marketing is, what it is to be advertising at the level of, you're running TV commercials, you're wrapping city buses with your ads, you're doing, you know, different types of advertising versus what you can do as an individual operator of, I can print 100 signs and stick them in the, you know, medians on corners and you know, lose 50 of them a week and start over. There's just scale and the brand power, brand recognition brings a lot. Big companies like McDonald's understand that. Some of the furniture companies I work for understand that. And I got to see a little bit of the benefits of brand marketing. Pros of franchising business: sales training, support systems, the proven business roadmap, and whatever resources that come with that franchise. Two things I want to mention at the end of my talk, and I do want to open up for questions, but we plan to do that at the end. So any questions you've come up with, I'd like to field them after Walt gets a chance to talk. But tonight at 7 p.m. is Deal Makers. This is a HOMEVESTORS event. You can contact Adam Zolot at the email address at the top of the page, or you can use that link to attend the meeting. If you've got any property you want to present, get it to Adam in advance. But definitely join Deal Makers tonight to see what properties are being sold. They're non-MLS deals. Also, I am missing the networking of the Triad REIA in-person meetings. Really missing out on that. And I tried to set up a Calendly way for people to grab a few minutes with me, but I'm afraid my experience with Calendly, I'm not that skilled. It worked 2 days ago when I set it up, but I might have some kind of setting that keeps you from doing it now because there's not enough lead time. So I was going to say, go on Calendly, grab 5 minutes. I want to talk to you after the meeting. Instead, I want you to email me. If you email me, I will call you and we'll get a few minutes to talk after the meeting. Any questions about me, DaVinci Properties, HOMEVESTORS. In particular, if you're interested in looking into a HOMEVESTORS franchise for yourself, I want to talk to you. With that, I'd like to introduce Walt York. So Walt is our DA, our development agent in the Greensboro area for HOMEVESTORS. He's been doing HOMEVESTORS over 5 years. He's purchased and sold over 150 properties, total real estate transaction volume in excess of $12 million. Walt has been a good resource for me when I was learning about HOMEVESTORS. Good resource anytime I have questions about the HOMEVESTORS way of doing things. And so I'd like to introduce Walt now to take over and tell you a little bit more about what he does.
Thank you, Steve, and welcome, Walt. I think we got you muted. There we go.
There we
And
go.
Steve, I have your links over here in the chat box. So if there is somebody that wants to join the Deal Makers tonight, I've got that link over there, and I've also got your link for Calendly. So hopefully that works.
Well, let me see if I can get my thing started up here real quick.
And while you're doing that, Walt, we had a couple questions that came in. So Steve, after everybody's done and after Walt's done, could you talk a little bit about collateral whenever you're talking about franchises, and then what support systems does a franchise offer? So you'd be thinking about that. Walt, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I think I'll answer some of those too as we go through here. But I am the development agent for Greensboro with HOMEVESTORS of America. We are America's #1 home buyer. As Steve kind of gave you my bio, the other thing going on is we're building a very strong rental portfolio, which was our goal 5 years ago when we got started in this. But many of you may know us by GW Property Solutions. That is my company's name. We're an independently owned and operated franchise of HOMEVESTORS. Quick overview of HOMEVESTORS. It started in 1996. We currently have over 1,100 franchises in 170 markets throughout the U.S. We've purchased over 100,000 houses so far, and in 2019 we sold over $1.7 billion in real estate.
Hey, Walt, real
Yeah.
quick, could you share your screen with us real quick?
It's not sharing?
No, not yet.
Let me see. Let me go back then.
No, you got some numbers on there. We want to see the numbers.
Let's see. All right, I'm gonna have to move that over here. All right.
There we go.
There
We got it. Thank you.
Got it. Good deal. I thought it popped up. Let's see if I can get. All right, there we go. We got the slide up. Okay.
Yep, it's up.
There we go. All right. So as I said, you may know us as GW Property Solutions. Shot real quick through the HOMEVESTORS history, but we have been a strong growing franchise. And one of the reasons for that is what we offer. HOMEVESTORS is now a very trusted national brand. When I started 5 years ago, there was less than 600 franchises. Like I said, we've grown to over 1,100 franchises. What's really cool is I travel around the country. I'll go into another town like St. Louis and see a big billboard in the middle of downtown St. Louis for HOMEVESTORS, just like the one you see on the screen. I've been down in Florida and seen TV commercials for us. I've been sitting at home here in North Carolina and seen TV commercials for us. So people are starting to know us. But what do we offer? We're a trusted national brand, exceptional training and support, a steady flow of leads, a strong lending program, and a strong vendor support program. And I noticed you said, you guys had vendors supporting REIA at the start, and vendors are critical to our growth. I mean, they're what supply us our materials, our money, everything else we have. So let's dig into each one of these just a little bit. Training and ongoing training. This is the #1 thing with HOMEVESTORS. There's never enough training to be a real estate investor. The market's constantly changing, buyer's market, seller's market, COVID market. Who knows what we're going to go through? So there's constant adaptation as to what we need to know. There's constant regulation changes. There's constant rules and regulations governing how we can buy and sell houses. There's also just better ways to do things. The training for HOMEVESTORS is on a national level, it's on a regional level, and it's all the way down to 1-on-1 at the local level. When you start out with HOMEVESTORS, you go to what's called Systems and Standards Training for 1 week in Dallas. And they're currently doing that online right now. But you learn the system, you learn the franchise guidelines, and you learn what's going on. And then the real learning starts, which is in our conventions, in our regional trainings, and in our one-on-one trainings, because you're dealing with people that have been buying and selling real estate for a long period of time that are guiding you. And you can literally pick up the phone and call any HOMEVESTORS in the country, and 99% of the time they're willing to help you out with your question or concern. And that's why I say, I didn't really buy a franchise. What I did was I bought into a giant family of businesses that all want to make sure that I succeed. And that's a very comforting feeling. But I'm sure every one of you have heard about HOMEVESTORS before I talked about it today. And one of the things that you can't beat is our advertising program. When I started in 2015, before I was a HOMEVESTORS franchise, I was GW Property Solutions. Little old me in Greensboro, North Carolina, trying to figure out how to get my name out there and how to get known. I certainly didn't have enough money to hire an advertising agency. And it was, didn't have a whole lot of money for mailers and different things like that to be competitive. One of the things I found out through exploring and joining HOMEVESTORS is we have a national, highly ranked advertising agency working directly for little old Greensboro, all 11 franchises here right now. We're going to be down to 7. We have 2 leaving. We have a national advertising agency that's working with us, and I can pick up the phone and I can call them and I can talk to them on a regular basis about what we need to do. We cover billboards, mail, TV, I mean, we can wrap a bus if we want to. We can buy park benches, whatever we want to do, but we have the national guidance of that advertising agency to help us. And we have a very strong, proven lead flow. My leads did not drop during the global pandemic. I got the same number of leads coming in as I expected, and it yielded results for us. The other thing is superb tools. We can build our own tools for lead management. We can build our own analytical tools for how much a house should cost. We can create lead dog tools. We can do all of this stuff on our own. Yes, we can. But when you have a nationally proven system backed by an IT department of, that's constantly updating and changing, you just can't beat the tools that they provide you when you join the franchise. And I'm sure, in talking to me or Steve later on and digging more into these tools, you'll find out how valuable an asset they are to prevent you from making mistakes and give you a chance to buy deeper and better as you go along. And this one everybody's going to love. The day you finish SST training and get your diploma that you are a operating HOMEVESTORS franchise, you have access to lending, not only for fix and flips, but for long-term rental holds. And it's instant, it's guaranteed. They can fund 100% of your purchase price plus repairs. There's great rates and terms. And you can't beat that instant access to money. I mean, it's just like, wow. And as you prove yourself with any other system, the amount of money that you grow into, you can buy as many houses as you can get under contract. So the lending program is fantastic. And the one thing I want to say, it's not one lender. There's like 7 lenders in the program. So you're choosing from different ones and building different relationships, and they all offer different functions. Vendor support. We have 67 national vendors offering us special pricing. Home Depot, Del Tile, Moen, MFS, ABC Supply. I mean, we're not talking about local pricing or regional pricing. We're talking about on a national pricing level because of the power of the HOMEVESTORS brand and the number of franchises we have operating. I walk into ABC Supply, I'm in a different price tier. I go into Sherman-Williams. I mean, I laugh. I can buy paint cheaper than my painter. So it's a powerful thing to be a part of the franchise system with the benefits that you get. Now, I've given you a really good tease because on next Tuesday at 4 o'clock, we have the local discovery day where we're going to really dig into the meat and potatoes of what all these slides means and really boil down into the thing. So if you're interested in stepping through and learning a whole lot more about becoming a HOMEVESTORS franchise, introduce yourself to Steve. He's our REIA rep that'll handle your start into the process. Have a chat with him about your interest and your interest level. Steve can get me involved if that would help. But make sure you get him your contact information, and then we can set you up on a path to discovery for this next day. And I mean, we're really going to boil into this. And those 5 things that you really get when you join HOMEVESTORS, you'll be able to see, wow, how could that benefit my business in such an amazing way? I don't have to reinvent the wheel. All of a sudden, I'm not myself. I'm 7 to 10 strong. All of a sudden, my advertising budget grows by 500%. I mean, so it's just amazing the opportunities that you get when you explore and step forward into franchising. So that is a quick look at HOMEVESTORS and what we offer and where you can go with a HOMEVESTORS franchise. So I know some of you are curious to learn more. Steve and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. So let's see. I think we're back.
Can we talk about the collaterals a little bit? What does that mean exactly?
Collaterals is basically your letterhead. It's the brand that you work under. I mean, I'm wearing a HOMEVESTORS shirt with UGG on it. So people start to identify UGG. So, I mean, when you drive along and all you see is the arches sticking up above trees, at the next exit there's a McDonald's. Our brand has gotten such that if you're driving down the highway and you see the caveman on a billboard, more than likely you're going to think of HOMEVESTORS as it goes along. So it's part of your branding as you go through the process.
I'll add to that. So one good example in real estate investing, if you're a wholesaler or you buy into any system, whether it's the guru that came through Rob REIA, or if it's Fortune Builders or whoever, one of the big questions I hear wholesalers start out with is, what kind of letter am I going to send out? Well, that's one of your collaterals. And some guru will tell you you need a letter with horses on it and your family with your pet. And some guru will tell you that it needs to be on the yellow notebook paper and you need to wad it up in a ball and then spread it back out and stuff it in an envelope with a window and you can get people to open it every time. But franchises have national advertising companies studying different letters in different markets, making little tweaks with an N sample size of millions of letters going out and seeing what kind of response they get. So you buy into a franchise, and it doesn't matter if you buy into, a Burger King. You want to do advertising in your market. Burger King's got the postcard you can send out, or it goes out through their advertising company. But your letter, your flyers, your business cards, those are all things that I had to create from scratch myself for DaVinci Properties. But with a franchise, those are done. The creative work, the refinement, the years of knowing what works, what doesn't is there. Another good example is commercials. I used to love watch TV and see the local channels switch over to local commercials because just the quality of production just let you know automatically. Oh yeah, that's a mom and pop shop. Their kids in the commercial. The audio is not so good. It's not high quality. That's the difference in big company collateral, which would be that commercial, that thing that they've already created that works for you to use. It can also be contracts, and if you're in a business that requires contracts, there's all kinds of different collateral depending on what the franchise is. I think, and then Tyler, you also asked about support systems. Walt touched on several in what he talked about. Things I was thinking about was the vendor network, the economy of scale that a franchise gives you that way from a support system. Often there's legal support in franchises. They'll tell you how you need to set up your company and what you need to do to do it in a way that sets you up for success in their business model. The training is a support system, and one that we can't really talk about, and it's different between every franchise, but I've even seen an example of this one going through a drive-through when I was on a road trip, and that is financing. There's financing Walt touched on for the deals as a real estate investor, but I'm talking about financing your business. So the example I came across was, anybody know of Steak and Shake? Like you've been to that restaurant, or you've at least driven by it. So I pull up at the drive-through window and I see a sign at a Steak and Shake that says, own your own business, $10,000 plus 50% profit. So they are financing somebody starting their own Steak and Shake by splitting the profit with you if you'll just ante up $10,000. So that's another support system to get you into the business and to expand their brand.
And the other thing too, you go along with that, when COVID hit, nobody really knew what was going on. Within 5 weeks, we had a COVID response for a national program that we released, and it went everything from mass to virtual appointments to how to buy a house without even going. I mean, it was amazing how quickly we as a group were able to respond to a changing environment. And that's one of the reasons why we didn't see our appointment or our buy rate drop as we went through the COVID period, because we became, as we call it, COVID prepared very quickly. So, you're not having to try to figure that out yourself. What do I do? What do I say? Where do I go? You've got a lot of other people helping with that. And with HOMEVESTORS, like I said, we're like a big family. You have access to that. If you have a good idea, there's a way to post that. And if it works, it'll spread like wildfire through the system. So people are sharing success and ways to have that success. And that's probably as important part of that collateral material as the business card or the letterhead or the special letter that you're sending out in your direct mail campaign for leads, is that help.
That's really cool. So you guys not only have the larger HOMEVESTORS group, but you also have the local guys that are on your team too. Because can a HOMEVESTORS franchise partner with another HOMEVESTORS franchise? Is that a thing?
Well, what we have is in Greensboro right now, we're in a little bit of a transition period. We have 11 franchises. We're going to be down to 8 active franchises. There's 2 that are leaving for very good reasons. One of them's personal, but that forms an ad council. And the ad council works together on how we're going to spend our money in advertising in a given particular month. But we also work together on training. Every month when we have our meeting, there's training. There's shared information from corporate as to what's going on. There's ways to buy better. There's seeing your results. The neat thing about it is I compare my results per month to Steve's results per month and see, am I doing the same or equal or worse or what's happening? So we get a little friendly competition going between the group as to, you know, who's buying and who's jumping up and who did what. So, you know, competition always helps you get better.
Right.
And so competition for itself. The other thing is we buy and sell a lot of houses between each other. There's a lot of houses that we get, especially good rentals. That never make it out into the public market because Steve may get a rental and he knows that I'm growing my rental portfolio right now. He'll call me up and say, look what I got and here's what I can sell it to you for. And it's gone before anybody even knows about it. So we do a lot of business between ourselves that help us at the same time.
Can you buy a property that you found through HOMEVESTORS for your personal portfolio?
Absolutely.
How does that work? Do you pay a commission to HOMEVESTORS or?
You pay a commission to HOMEVESTORS on every deal you do.
Okay.
Depending on what level you're at determines how much that is. And as you get better and are in the system longer, your royalty or commission goes down that you pay.
Okay.
But you just say, I'm buying this as a whole property, and it goes through the system that way.
Gotcha.
If you buy a personal property, which Steve did, Steve bought a house that he's getting ready to move into. He did not have to pay any royalties or fees on that property because it was going to become his personal house. So he got a great deal on the house, and it cost him nothing to get that good deal. And it was a HOMEVESTORS lead.
That's awesome. Yep. Steve, do you guys ever run across any commercial stuff, or is it mainly, does all of your marketing dollars go towards single family homes?
It's targeted towards single family, but we do find, you know, commercial properties. I have dealt with one apartment building. Some look at apartment buildings as commercial property. People contact us that have, you know, maybe a rental house and a rental office. Examples of getting a little bit into commercial, but the marketing is definitely targeted towards, you know, residential single family. Gotcha.
And you probably don't let it pass by without you saying, do you have any other properties that you'd like for me to look at? I imagine,
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, we've got a couple minutes here. Do you guys have any questions for Steve or for Walt?
I had 2. I was gonna ask, and Steve kind of touched on it with the Steak and Shake franchise, $10,000 down, and then some income potential. But are there financing options similar to that to buy a real estate investing franchise, or does it really require the liquid cash to be all in?
It's sort of both. There's 2 levels that you can buy into a HOMEVESTORS franchise. There's an associate franchise, and then there's a full franchise. Associate franchises, through royalty payments and other incentives, grow into a full franchise. There is also a financial commitment though, and we look at each person individually when we talk to them about coming in. And I'll explain that in just a second, but because how big and how much your advertising spend is going to be when you start into the business, and what else is going on in your life can determine some of that. And for example, there's really 3 levels of franchises within the HOMEVESTORS system. You have the person who is kind of going to do it part-time. They're by themselves. It's going to be just them. They want to buy maybe 10 houses a year, flip 10 houses a year, something like that. And so their level of advertising spend to meet their needs of buying is going to be less. You have what we call the mom and pop or the partnership business, where they're coming in and they're basically going to have jobs. They're going to be the buyer. They're going to be the coordinator, the secretary, the accountant. They want a business, and Steve talked about a little bit that, where they're the worker bees within the business themselves. And then you have the next level, which is the people who want to run a business like myself, where, you know, we've got employees, we have people out there doing the buying, the coordinating, the selling, the repairing, that kind of thing. And that's the business level. Our advertising spend is going to need to be greater than the hobbyist or the individual that's going to buy in that only wants 10 houses, because I need to buy 40 to 50 houses a year. That's what we buy. That's our buying rate. You know, the person there in the middle, they may want to buy 20, they want to pay about 50. So, you know, depending on where you want to get in, that's going to determine how much money you're going to need sort of in the bank, as I call it, to support your advertising to get started. When you get into the home investor system, it's like anything else. The first day that you start, mine was January 1, 2016. I didn't have a single lead to work with. So I'm waiting on my leads to come in. So your business is going to grow by the number of leads you get as they come in. And over time, then, as Steve has learned through his time, you all of a sudden have a pool of leads that you're constantly working, which leads to constantly buying or selling properties. You know, the associate franchise fee right now is $32,000. And then from there, you know, we determine, you know, in talking with you and your goals and your objectives and how quickly you want to get there, how much you need to have supporting that to go forward.
So is it a matter more of, like Steve said, knowing who you are, what you're good at and all that? Or is it a matter more of like how much money do you have to spend that determines if you're going to basically be in the self-employed category, the investor category, or the business owner category?
Steve, you want to do that one?
Sure. They're both pieces of it, but I would definitely say the financial investment to drive the volume of leads is critical to the size of your business. So if you're a person that you know you're going to need a lot of help from other people, you may be somebody that needs to drive a big enough business to support all those people. If you're somebody that likes to do a little bit of everything yourself, and you can start out that way, and there's nothing holding you back from doing it, every little bit of it yourself, then you can start smaller and grow as you're comfortable. There's some people that go into franchise businesses, you know, not just investing in real estate, but other businesses too. They go in it whole hog, you know, big investment, every resource they have, a team of people, same business. And then there's people doing it single operators. So
yeah,
that's the way I described it. Know yourself, know how you fit the franchise. As you do your research as to what the franchise requires monetarily, and you do those other two pieces, you'll start to see where you fit and what would be comfortable for you and how to start.
Yeah. And it's, you know, with any business, with the exception of maybe a McDonald's or a CHICK-FIL-A, where the day you open the doors, you're just as big as you're going to be in 20 years. You know, I started this business with just me and my wife, and we were that way for the first 6 months. And then we grew to the next level. And then, you know, then 2 years we grew to the next level, because that's where we wanted to go. So you have a lot to say in your own destiny of where you want to be as a franchise size within the system.
It's great information, guys. Thank you so much. I know it's 1:33, so we want to be respectful of everybody's time. But Walt, do you mind putting your contact information in the chat box?
Sure.
If I can reach out to you. Do you guys have any last minute questions for Steve or for Walt? Okay. And if you do want to save that information that's in the chat box, what you can do is you can go down to first click on chat, and so the chat box comes up. And then if you look at the lower right-hand section, you'll see a button that has 3 little dots on it. So you can click on that and click Save Chat, and that will save all the information that's been in the chat to your computer, or you can save it in the cloud, or however you want to do that. But again, thank you, Steve. Thank you, Walt, for doing this for us today. We really appreciate you guys coming out and talking to us a little bit.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
And I hope some of you guys will take advantage of Discovery Day coming up, because you can learn a whole lot more. It's about an hour and a half long and very informative.
And deal makers tonight, right?
That's correct.
Okay, great. All right, thanks, guys. Everybody have a good day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.